Hello, everyone. The purpose of this video is to go over what plagiarism is and how to avoid it with citations. And finally, what services are available to you as a student to help you navigate plagiarism and citation during your time here at VC. So let's get started. You may have heard of plagiarism before. The general definition is that it's the practice of taking someone else's work and passing it off as your own, okay? Plagiarism is something that we want to avoid because it's basically cheating. And it says that I didn't do this work, but I'm going to pretend that I did, right? There are some ways in which we might accidentally plagiarize and some ways where we might do it intentionally. We want to avoid both, okay, in order to get full credit for the class, full credit for our work. So the ways in which different work can be adapted and passed off as our own are generally these 5, okay? So the first one is published writing or ideas. This means like if you saw somebody else's writing, like an idea in a book, an article, a blog, a handout, and you wrote it into your own paper, response, discussion without giving credit, you're passing it off as if you came up with that information or came up with the quote or came up with the idea. That would be plagiarism, okay? You do need to basically give credit to the person who came up with it. If we all came up with some rad idea that was published, we'd want to get credit too, right? So another way that we can run into plagiarism is with unpublished writing or ideas. This is still plagiarism if you pass it off as your own work. So even though it's not officially published, say you got an email from somebody, you got notes from class, if you pass it off as your own, it's plagiarism, okay? So all you got to do is give credit to where you got it from. Speeches or talks, like if you take a quote from a professor or a TED talk you saw or something, you just want to give credit again. Images, photos, film, sound files, music, etc. We want to give credit to where we got that information from, okay? So not that you can't use it, but again, this is just about not passing it off as your own, as the person who took the photo or wrote the music or whatever it is, right? And the last one here is a relatively new one. This is anything that's written by artificial intelligence. You may have heard of ChatGPT or other kinds of technology that were released in 2022, end of 2022, 2023, okay? And these are machines that do some writing for you. You may have assignments throughout your collegiate career where you are instructed to use AI. That is possible. But if you use AI when it's not allowed and you pass it off as your own writing, you don't give credit, and you're not allowed to use it and you use it anyway, that's plagiarism. Okay, so that's a pretty serious offense from as far as the college is concerned, because it's basically cheating, okay? For our class this semester, we will not be using AI for your general assignments, okay? So unless you run into a specific situation where you are allowed to use it, it's a general no, okay? That's because writing, studies on writing show that as you go through the writing process, you're actually building critical thinking skills. So that's why you were assigned this class in college, and that's why it's part of your degree, okay? So we just went over the general definition of plagiarism. VC agrees with that. Their general definition is the act of presenting someone else's work as your own. And they take it pretty seriously. So the penalty for plagiarizing at VC is that it's considered a very serious offense and it's subject to disciplinary action, okay? So something might look like, disciplinary action might look like, you know, a 0 for that assignment. You may fail the class, you may have to meet with the dean or something. I always tell students, if you're worried about an assignment, there's a couple of things you can do instead of plagiarize. One, if you do your own work and you do it poorly, like let's say you get an F on something and you get 50%, 50% is so much better than a 0. Okay, if you're caught plagiarizing, you use a machine, you use something else, you use somebody else's work, and it's a 0, that's really going to hurt your grade and it's hard to come back from that. 50% on an assignment, you can probably come back from that, okay? I'm not saying you're going to get like an A+ in the class overall, but it's usually doable that if you did well on the rest of your assignments, you gave it your best, you might be able to pass still. So do your own work, do it to the best of your ability. That's my advice, okay? So how do we give credit, right? So we're talking about, we got to give credit. Well, there's something called citation, which means that you're basically giving credit to the person or machine who came up with the idea that you're using, okay? So you're going to use a citation to say where you got the information from. Whenever you have an idea that you got from somebody else, information you got even through a conversation, any exact words or a unique phrase that somebody came up with, or a term of the authors. Sometimes people are famous for coming up with something. Shakespeare has a lot of these, like the green-eyed monster, meaning jealousy. Shakespeare came up with that, right? So we'd cite him. We would use a citation. Any diagrams, charts, photos, or other informational graphics that are not yours, you would use a citation. And if you are allowed to use AI-generated material, again, not in general, but if it's a specific assignment, it's been suggested that you use it, then you would have to still cite it and say, I used this machine to help me with it, okay? All right, so how do we cite? Well, there are a few different major citation styles. In fact, there's many of them, but the three that you might hear about in your time at VC are MLA, APA, and Chicago style. And these are different ways of giving credit to the author, depending on which class you're in. So English classes use MLA style. And so you'll get familiar with that over the course of our class, okay? It's basically a way of saying, I got this info from this person, and it helps other people find where you got your information so they can verify it. So they know it's not Joe Schmo's blog, right? They know you got it from a quality source, and they know they can trust the information in your paper, okay? The style of formatting, the sequence, the order of citation styles is unique to each one. So just know that you might have to pay attention to that as you navigate different classes in your time here. Okay, so how do we cite? Well, we'll go over that specifically in our class, but I also wanted to connect you with a few resources here. This is VC's citation resource page. You can see a little screenshot of it here. Okay, and that'll give you information about the different citation styles and some links for how to give credit to people whose work you might be integrating into your own paper. And then we do have a lovely tutoring center with online tutoring. This QR code will take you to the link for online tutoring. Okay, so make sure you check that out. Whether you are doing extremely well in the class, you have an A and you want to get to that A+, or you're really drowning in a class and you need help, they're there for both of those. They have excellent trained tutors available to help you. It is free, so take advantage of it. You're not alone on this journey, okay? And if you're ever unsure about citing, if something is plagiarized, how to cite, anything like that, you can always reach out to me or reach out to one of those resources. Have a great day, and I'll see you online.